Hey guys, in this video, I'm gonna go over a coding project that pretty much we're gonna make a AI prompting app, right? And these apps are everywhere and you don't even realize it. Majority of the apps that are AI or whatever, or the new AI platforms or whatever it is technology that you're using as AI is probably an AI that uses this AI prompting system, essentially, right? So let me just go over how it works. So this is an example of an app that's very popular that uses this concept of prompting as an app, right? So as you can see, you just write something down and you tell it what to do and then it'll make that thing for you, right? And it's like, wow, that's really powerful. This is pretty much like a chat bot, but for creating something, right? Instead of the output just being only text, output is a app you're try to design without drawing anything, without like the code's already there as you saw, like without doing much. You just type and it creates it for you. You just be like, oh, I don't like that color, change it to purple, things like that, right? Or another one is Jasper. Jasper is a very popular one. This pretty much creates like really fancy text for Facebook posts, marketing ads, things like that. Maybe you're making YouTube videos and you want a nice description. Like this whole system that they have, they built an entire product around, like, or their whole product is just a AI that's wrapped around a bunch of, like, it's pretty much it's called a thin wrapper, or a wrapper essentially is what it's called, like WRAPPER. I know I had to spell that. Same thing with Notion AI is another one, right? Your AI app for everything. It does all this cool stuff to run your entire company, business in a box. Like, it's craziness, right? It's really cool stuff. Um, and you can see like Notion Mail, like Notion Calendar. It can control your calendar. It can control your email. And then we also have like Ghostwriter. This thing actually like writes code via you just asking it to make.
Do, it suggests a next possible line, and a next possible line, and a next possible line, and even the array structure and how to call it.
So as you can see, shout out to Replit. They're a great platform. I did a couple of stuff using their videos. They're pretty much an online AI, an online IDE that integrated AI really well. But long story short, as you can see, it's writing lines of code. It was writing lines of code for him without him doing anything. It's just guessing. He just confirms it, guess, confirms it. Just with the first two lines he made, it was just guessing the next lines of code he was trying to write. It's literally writing code for him. And it can write something, he can just modify it if it's slightly off, right? So this is the idea of AI prompting. And I'm gonna explain, and pretty much here's the code. Whoa, here's the code we're gonna go over today, right? But first, let me make sure I teach you the concepts. So majority of companies are using either ChatGPT 4.0 model or smaller models, or they're using Claude AI, or they're using Gemini, right? These are like the main popular ones. Like you have Claude AI. Where's Claude? Claude AI is my favorite. Well, it's the one I've used the most. Gemini is my new recent favorite. Let me just make sure Gemini. Gemini likes to do this thing where it pulls up. There we go. So yeah, so you have Google Gemini. There's that one. Um, yeah, so pretty much that is like those are like the main models that people are using to create this system, right? So it's pretty much you type, make me a business plan to make a lot of money, whatever, right? I'm just writing this very simple format just to keep it plain and very, very simple. Obviously, this is not how I would prompt it. I'm just trying to make sure everyone is included in the conversation. I don't want to get too fancy, right? So then, right, and so this is my prompt and this is the output, right? So this is my prompt right here, and everything after it is the output. Okay, so it's still typing. I don't care what it says. I just want to show you the concept, right? So let's imagine I created an app, right? I created my own app. Let's just imagine it. And this app is, it's called Draw Wee Wee, whatever we're gonna call it, right? And let's say like the app tells you, tell me what you want me to draw. And then it says, type here what you want with one word. So it's telling you, hey, write with one word something that you want me to draw. And then the image will appear here that it's gonna draw for you, right? This app, this is a very basic example how this app is like called the front end, right? This is what you see, but behind it is just probably going to be either ChatGPT, one of ChatGPT's models, right? Yeah, it's either going to be one of ChatGPT's models or one of Claude's models or one of Gemini's models. I lost it. Yeah, there we go. And then it'll send what you said to that model, and then it responds back, and then the response appears here. So you don't even realize what they're doing. You're thinking that they have their own AI most likely and stuff like that, but they're not trying to mislead you. They're just not telling you information that you didn't ask, nor do you probably even care, right? Because they did half the work for you by creating a really nice prompt. So let's say I type something here, right, and I hit enter. Then that will send itself to the model. So what's gonna happen is, so when I type something, it's this highlighted area. I'm gonna type probably like cow, like draw me a cow, COW, right? And then the rest of this, create an image in the style of a 90s cartoon in 3D that looks like this. This is the base prompt. So this is just an example. So like from this app, I typed in like cow, then cow will get placed here. So I type in like cow, right? I type in cow. And now this AI model, whatever it is going to make me a picture of a cow, and that picture is going to come here and appear. But all I see is just I type cow, and after a couple of seconds, image of a cow appears in the style that I mentioned, right? Because maybe this app is called like 90s cartoon AI generator, whatever, right? Whatever they call it, like this app has a certain theme, right? So, but this is pretty much how the basic format of most of these apps work. Whatever you type in their front end, their beautiful app, right? It will just respond back with the response from ChatGPT, but they don't show you what they're doing in the background, right? So this is a better explanation of how it works, a little more deeper. So pretty much there's two formats of this. It's the user added information, right? So this is that user added information, right? Which is me saying like what, like when the user types here, that's the user added information, right? And they hit enter. So you add that to the base prompt with empty spaces for user info. So this is the base prompt with the empty space. This yellow right here is the empty space for the user information. And once I add it now, I add cow. Now this sentence is complete, and now this gets sent to ChatGPT, right? Or Claude Sonnet 4 model, which is what Claude uses. It's right here, the Claude Sonnet 4 model, or Gemini's VO2 model, or VO3 model, which creates videos with sound, which is really cool. But yeah, it's pretty much how it works, right? So user adds information by typing in something like based on what the app tells it. Obviously, if you don't follow the rules of the app, it's probably going to shoot back an error to you, because it only can prompt a certain way, right? This sentence only works if you put one thing. If you put like a whole paragraph of what you want, it's probably not going to work properly, right? That's why the app tells you, tell me what you want with one word. Type what you want here with one word, right? These apps will try to make sure you say things correctly, and if you don't follow their rules, they're not going to send it to the AI model, because then it's going to come back with things being incorrect, and then you'll kind of figure out like, oh, they don't own this, this AI in the background. So the idea is that, and this is how it works. So user added information, there's the base prompt, you just fill in the holes with the user information, send it to an AI model in the background, and the AI sends a response, and that response gets placed on the app that you see. Another format that's very common, not as common, but pretty much, it just send a base prompt to ChatGPT and you get an AI response. You don't have to type anything. This is similar to like, I would say like video games maybe might use this. Like if there's a video game character, like an NPC character that's talking, and you didn't really do nothing but just walk up to the character and just start doing something with it. Most likely you didn't send it any prompt. You didn't type anything. There was nothing you did. All you did was like you triggered something, and that trigger sent the base prompt to the AI, and the AI responds back with a very nice speech that matches the NPC's character, like what their whole story and background is, right? Another example would be something like it would be when you get suggestions for looking up stuff. If I go to ChatGPT right now, right? Normally they used to have like suggestions here. I wonder if Claude has it. Wow, they don't have it either. Granted, I'm like a known user. I've used this for a while. Usually if you're a beginner, they'll put some like suggestions here, things you can look up. But I'm just an advanced user because I have like the super paid plus version, and I've used it so many times. But matter of fact, does Google do it? Let me see if Google does it. Google. I typed in Google on Google. I'm one of those people. Yeah, sadly, I'm one of those people. Yeah, they don't do it anymore. They don't do the suggestions. Interesting. My phone does it. But anywho, yeah, things like that. Things when you don't do anything, Oh, here it is. There we go. That's what it is. I guess they to make the app cleaner, they hide it now. So they're just showing you some examples of prompts you can make, right? And I think it changes each time you open this. So let's see if it changed. Life stuff. Help me clean with decision making, develop exercise routines. Let me refresh. Yeah, see, so it changes each time, right? And this is an example of like, where is it? This guy, where it's like it's just sending a prompt to its model and it shoots back a response, and the response is what you're seeing here. These are the responses that it's putting out, but it just gets that response and it packages it. It packages the response nice and neat, so it looks like it's part of the app, right? But there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the back end. That's pretty much how a lot of these apps work that you guys are using without realizing it. It's not a bad thing. It's just just how it works. I'm just teaching you guys this stuff. So you can build apps like this too. A lot of the time when people want apps of their own that's AI, it's probably a AI prompting app that's gonna go to a specific type of model, right? If it's an image generation model or a really fancy text model or a summarization model, right? So so for this use case or for our example, we're going to where is it? We're going to we're going to focus on a real life business problem, right? Grants. Let's say you're in an organization or you own a business and you want to get a grant for your business. And grants are pretty much just free money from the government. So if you apply, if the government approves it, they'll give you set amount of money to create your thing. Of course, they're gonna monitor you carefully. They're gonna make sure they're gonna they'll do a background check on you and stuff like that. But it's a lot of ways to get free money. Like when I went to college, I got grant money. I forgot how much grant money I got, but it's just like free money. And my school applied for me, right? Or I think we both worked together to apply for it. But grant applications are really complicated. And if you write anything incorrect, you're not going to get the grant, right? So they're a big deal. It's literally free money from the government to do a particular thing that you promised that you're going to do. Otherwise, you got to pay them back or whatever the whole situation is. But this is a real business thing. A lot of businesses uh, use these to get money to run their business if it's for a particular purpose that the government thinks is worth a grant. But you got to look into this, right? So this is like a very basic grant application, right? And an AI can help you build a grant application so you don't have any errors. And all you got to do is give it a little bit of user information. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it some user information, just a little bit. The base prompt is going to be everything that's black, not yellow. So the yellow stuff, everything that's highlighted yellow is the user added information, and then the blue, right, the base prompt with empty spaces for user info is everything that is black, right? Everything that's black is that blue part. So now we're gonna add them together, and then we're gonna send this over to a local GPT model, right? So we're not gonna send it to OpenAI. It's like using an API call using the internet. We're gonna use a local API call. So sorry, we're gonna download a model, like a small weak one, probably GPT-2. I think that's the one I grabbed. And then we're gonna send our prompt over to that local model that's on our PC. Right, we're gonna download it temporarily. Sorry, we're gonna download it temporarily in Google Colab, and then we'll mess with it there, right? Otherwise, a lot of the apps they'll send their prompts over to OpenAI, like directly to their servers and their computers via internet. So if there's no internet, a lot of the time these apps won't work because they need internet to talk to the AI. But the ones that do work on your phone and stuff like that probably are using an AI that's local, which means on the device itself. So that's just a little overview of how that works. So yeah, so this is pretty much what we're doing. So pretty much we put this prompt into the code, and then we have these placeholders that our code is also going to let us fill out. And I made sure I did not make a GUI, or I didn't make like a front end or a visual app to connect this because I want to keep it simple. I just want to explain to you guys the back end part of this, right? The coding part. So first thing you'll do is Google Colab. So you'll open up Google, go to Google Colab, right? Click on that, and then you'll pick, after you log in, you'll see this. You click on new notebook, and then you should be good to start programming. Now you can name it whatever you want here. Change that. Please don't change the IPYNB. Leave that alone. But you can change anything here. Call it whatever you want. Does not matter, to be honest. Let's put delete later. Delete later. So I'll name this, and you can start coding here, right? So the first thing, and then I would say make sure there's 2 of them, and you'll copy and paste. I'm probably gonna give you guys. Let me show you guys real quick. I'm gonna give you guys a notepad. In the link of this video will be a copy of the code that you'll use to run this, and all you gotta do is me show you guys. You're just gonna copy and paste it. Okay, so yeah, so let's say this is the code. You just copy and paste the code. So Control A, Control C, and then paste it here, whatever, right? Control Z. But I'm gonna give you specific instructions, right? So that way you use it correctly. So we're gonna close that, leave, cool. So make sure that first line is you copy and paste the first line here, and then you run this, okay? So when you run this, it's gonna download all pretty much the stuff that we need to. It's gonna download Transformers library is how we're gonna get the AI model, the local AI model that ChatGPT, that the creators of this made. Let me specify. It is GPT-2. Yeah, GPT-2. Yeah, that's when it's that model. And we're gonna download Accelerate just to help things move along. All right, cool. So once you copy and paste that here to the first cell, run it, and then once this is done, you can move on. Usually, you know when it's done when it's a check mark and nothing's going on, right? Cool. Now paste the rest of the code, everything else, into the second cell, and I'm gonna go over the code really quick, but I'm gonna show you the output of what it looks like. So you'll see all this jazz. It's gonna take a while to load, so be patient, please, right? And then it's gonna ask you a couple questions. So it's gonna ask me this question, right? And you just respond to the question and press enter. Okay. So it asks you 6 questions, and after the 6 questions are done, then it's gonna process again. Be patient, let it process and think. And after that, it's going to spit out the application that we have but filled in with all the information that you filled in, right? And generation is complete. Yeah, cool. Yeah, and that's pretty much how it works, okay? So this is just a basic view to give you guys what's going on. So we're going to use code to fill out, the yellow areas, take this whole thing, send it to an AI. The AI will respond to us with it, and then pretty much good to go, right? So yeah, it's just like I just want to show you guys the basic idea of this concept, okay? So first we're going to import Torch and Transformers. This is just the tools that we're going to use to build our parts for our whole machine, aka the whole app, right? The back end of the app, right? And the app, people think an app has to have a visual. App just means like something that runs and it does something on a computer, essentially, right? That's pretty much what an app is. People kind of get the idea that apps are like phone apps or computer apps, or people don't even realize computer apps are even a thing. Like, did you see it as like a desktop thing or whatever? But I'm getting off topic. I apologize. So we're gonna grab the model name. So we're gonna grab GPT-2 Medium. Actually, it's not GPT-2 Small. We're using GPT-2 Medium, just a bigger version of GPT-2 Small. It just means that it'll take a while to load. So when it's taking a while to load, it's because the model is big or bigger. But the models that you use on like this are like the biggest ones. They're huge. You can't run these on your local computer. There's no way, right? So we're using smaller versions of those. Think of it as like if you like a semi truck, like a huge truck that carries stuff across the state. Imagine that as like the model. You can't fit that in your house. What fit in your house is like probably a small like little toy car. This is like a toy car compared to like the giant massive trucks. This just give you a size difference. And this just prints the model's name and stuff like that, so you can see it below. Tokenizer. Tokenizer is like a translator. So if I speak English and the computer speaks numbers, it's a translator of what I say gets turned into numbers so that the computer understands what I'm saying. AI models and computer systems only understand numbers. They don't actually understand text. All this text we're sending it is being converted into numbers so they can understand. So if I speak English, you speak Spanish. Let's say the computer speaks Spanish. I translate my English to Spanish. If I said, "Hey, where am I?" the computer will see, "Oh, hola, ¿dónde estoy?" Right? That was a horrible accent. ¿Dónde estoy? Right? So that's the concept, right? We're translating our English into another language that the computer understands, which in this case is numbers. That's what that tokenizer is. So we're downloading that, right? Or setting it up essentially. Then this is setting up the model, right? So first we say the model that we want. We're just saying the name that we want, and then this is actually grabbing that model, right? So this is grabbing the model and setting it up, building a little nice house for it to come visit and do some work for us, right? And we got our little tokenizer, right? We got the tokenizer, and we give it the little translator book. Here's the translator book, so now I can translate. It can understand what we're trying to say to each other, right? So now this chunk pretty much sets up your computer environment to run CUDA or CPU. All this means is that AI models run best in a GPU environment. The GPU is your graphics card. That pretty much makes your computer look nice, shows off these colors and stuff. That's like the graphics card doing its thing, right? CPU is like everything else kind of that running in the background. So like when it's processing, when it's looking for something, when it's moving stuff, when you're clicking, all that's like kind of like CPU. Pretty much, if you can't use your GPU, it uses your CPU. That's pretty much it. It's just the environment that your AI code is going to run in, right? Not a big deal just setting that up, right? Because your house isn't just in the middle of space; it's on some land. So kind of like setting up the land for the AI to do its work in a little special building. That's kind of like the idea of it, right? We might be it might be in a factory where things are moving really quick. It might be just in like a smaller factory, a mom pop and shop where maybe things aren't as efficient and as fast, but it gets the job done. Yeah, you get the idea. Cool. So now we're having inputs, right? So these are some inputs. So printing is just printing some information just for you to read it. Not a big deal. Now, but these are inputs. So you'll see this thing right here called input, and you close it with this. What input does is input pretty much allows you to type information into the code, right? So let's say it asks you a question. This is the question, and after the question, you'll get to respond back to it. That's what input does pretty much. And there's like 6 of these, right? And we used to set them up in variables, so that way we can use it. And this is like grabbing the user information. So usually when people grab user information, it's something like an input in the code that's going on, right? Cool. Next is the actual prompt. So now when you're doing these prompt engineering apps or these prompt apps, right, most likely it's gonna look like this, where it's like using triple F. It can just be not triple F, triple quotation. You can use double potentially, but the idea is we're using an F string, and F string allows you to place these variables that what you respond gets stored in this variable, and we place that variable inside the application. Okay, cool. And then yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. So this is the exact same thing as this guy, but we just placed it now inside the code itself as like a giant text, and we're adding in our user inputs into the blanks, right? That's pretty much it. This variable is just that giant text. Okay, it just stores it. Cool. User inputs. This is just this is part of the translation process from turning your English into numbers for the AI to understand what's going on, pretty much, right? Missing a couple things, but like I said, I'm trying to keep it very simple for you guys. This is pretty much part of the. This is make sure that we're doing things in the same place. That's all. Like instead of doing something here in this area and then you go 10 streets down and do the rest over there, that's kind of pointless, right? So you just kind of make sure you do everything in the right area. Okay, because if you do something here and you go 5 streets down and do something over there, it might not be correct. Along the way you might forget something or whatever it is, or it might break or whatever. It's that kind of concept. Okay. Output model. So this is pretty much the how do I explain this? This is pretty much the settings for the model, right? It's like the model's guidelines and rules of what it's gonna say. Like the user input, it is just okay. This is where you're gonna do your thinking. You're gonna do your thinking here and only here. All right. It's kind of like the idea of that. Max length is when you respond back to me. This is the maximum words you can say. I don't want to hear 5 paragraphs. I want to hear 5 sentences only. That's kind of like what this max length is for. This one, hard to explain that right now. Temperature is how random can the response be, right? So let's say you tell someone, all right, here, what's your favorite food? You want them to say just chicken, or pineapple, or whatever. Like that's that temperature is like super. We'll just say low for now. That's like a low temperature, right? You just give a one quick answer, very direct, right? And let's say I ask you again 2 days later, hey, what's your favorite food? Chicken, pineapple, right? And 3 days again later, what's your favorite food? Chicken, pineapple. That's a very low temperature. Now, a high temperature or a higher temperature would be, hey, what's your favorite food? I like some fried chicken, maybe with some pineapple on the side. 2 days later, I ask you the same question again, what's your favorite food? Now I respond, I think I like some juicy pineapple and then some grilled chicken with the bone inside. And then 2 days later, ask the same question again. What's your favorite food? Now you say, I kind of like pineapple. I kind of like chicken. You see how each time the response was kind of different? That's higher temperature. Temperature increases the chance of it saying the response correct, but with a little bit of variability, with a little bit of not swag, but like a little bit of just variation. It might say it differently, but this also increases the chance of it saying it wrong. So that's why it's a good balance. You know, picking temperature is a balancing game. If it's too low, it says something very basic, which you might want. Each time it's gonna say the same exact thing, and if it's too high, um, it might say something very random, which increases the chances of it saying something wrong, right? So people usually kind of avoid a super high temperature unless they wanted to say something wrong sometimes. Like in a video game, it might not matter what it says, right? Or in certain situations, it might not matter if it says anything wrong, as long as 90% of the time it says something correct, right? So it's pretty much the idea. And we're not going to go over this. We're not going to go over that sample true, yeah, token. This is just, it's like there's an end of, how do I explain this? There's no need to explain this. This gets deeper. When we start going over LLMs, how they work on a deeper level, that's when we get into the EOS token. Because there's something at the end when they get produced that gets removed that you don't see. But unless the model knows stop producing stuff. But we'll just focus on this for now. And now this right here is going to pretty much generate the text. So pretty much we feed it that, we'll feed it the, how do I say it? We'll feed it the prompt with the added stuff, send it over, and print it out essentially, right? We're just printing out the response from the AI. And that's pretty much the general idea of how this whole thing works, guys. And that's a basic AI prompting app, right? Which are most apps today. So if you want to run this code, you can run it. And you'll see that it takes some time to process. Oh, it's actually quicker the second time. Oh, I guess the first time I run it, it takes time to download. But once I already have it downloaded, it probably works really good. Yeah, it's already downloaded. So you see how, so this is the input. So that input code, that's what this does right here. So my name is Blue Richard, right? Then you scroll down a little bit. What's project? Coding for the young. All right, hit enter, scroll back down, and then you kind of keep doing this. And then once you keep hitting enter, right, it'll start generating something. And whatever it generates doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, because this is not a real like app. This is just to show you how it works. But it's gonna process, figure out, use the information, and produce something, right? So yeah, but that's pretty much how this whole thing works. If you would like to learn AI from me one-on-one, if you would like me to teach AI to your whole faculty, to your whole team, to all your students, maybe you have an idea of an app and you want to get it validated. Maybe you want me to build an AI app for you. Maybe you want me to build an AI automation system for you. Or maybe you just want to figure out how to integrate AI into your whole company to save money or make more money. Reach out to me. My email is in the description of the video below. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. And that's pretty much it. Peace.